A small test that we've done before is there was this new client, fresh, has never sold anything before. He has a product idea in mind. We literally made a landing page where we're saying this is not available yet. It's just pre-order. And we're running ads to the landing page to see if people will buy it in the first place. If people are not hyped or interested to even try, like the pre-launch, we're hyping it, there's only 200 available, and you see no interest whatsoever, why go through the investment of ordering 50,000 products? Your paid ads will cost you less to acquire a customer if your landing page or if your website is converting at higher rate. We're spending north of 1 million per month, just D2C on Meta and Google. That's where the majority of the money goes. The split between them, for most cases, 90-95%. 80% of the budget will always go to Meta because we see the highest return there. You're looking at the longevity of the business, you need to factor LTV because it changes the game completely. It's like investing, right?
Hey guys, welcome to Below the Fold.
Hello.
Hello.
How's everybody?
Everybody's great.
Awesome.
How are you?
Let's do this.
Let's do this. We've got some really good guests on the show today.
One guest.
One guest. Why, Jad?
I don't know. I'm a guest too.
Why do you think it's one guest?
I'm a guest host.
You're a guest host.
Fine. We'll take it.
We're switching roles.
It's a middle. Like count me 1.5 on each side. Right?
How about a little intro before we prolong this guest host conversation?
Debate.
Way too much for my opinion.
You want to start?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Where do I start?
Where do you start?
I've been in retail and e-commerce for quite a while. I'm not gonna tell you because they'll give off my age, and that's not nice for a lady.
38.
Really?
I'm just throwing a number.
Okay, whatever. No.
No?
Unfortunately, more. So yeah, I've done it across multiple companies, from bigger scales like department store formats to smaller ones where we have multi-brand specialty stores, let's say, across Galeries Lafayette, The Good Life, and so on. Worked in sportswear as well, quite a few years of my career. And I am currently leading projects department for the multi-brand division and Tanagra, so all of the own concepts of Shalhoub group. And that's about it.
Awesome. Great to have you on the show.
Nice
Andy.
career.
Yeah.
My name is Andy Kazandjian, and I've been in the agency space for most of my career. So I started off with running my own agency with one of my good friends, and we did that for about 2 to 3 years. And then I got a message from Eddie Malouf, who is the owner of Bad Marketing, and he was hiring agency owners. So I saw that on Instagram stories. I'm like, why are you hiring agency owners? What's the point? He's like, I want someone who understands not just like one specific department, but really knows the ins and outs of the agency space, client acquisition, customer retention, team management, doing the whole thing on agencies. And that's how I landed in Bad Marketing.
Yeah. What did your agency specialize in?
So we used to do a lot of things. It wasn't very niched or focused on one specific thing, but we were doing everything from social media marketing, basically ads, performance, emails, websites, applications like mobile apps, just literally everything. It was my first time opening my own business.
Yeah.
So we were just doing everything we can to make some money.
Did you start that right off the bat after graduation?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, same year I graduated. That was one of the first things I was working on.
So first experience in professional life was
100%.
opening your own business. That's awesome.
I mean, I thought it was a good opportunity. Like instead of graduating and then starting a job, like most of my friends did, I'm like, I mean, it makes sense, but if I'm not going to take the risk now, why do it when I'm 40?
Yeah.
So
and there's a good outcome from following a corporate career, right? Like
there's no right or wrong issue from anything. I used to work during college as well, and then I continued, the career ladder ascension, I would say. I used to work in nightlife when I was in university, and then I went into daytime because mama wanted. And then from there, it was just natural evolutions of me getting bored and getting other things to do. Kind of a cycle that repeats itself. but yeah, I mean, honestly, I would never have imagined myself opening a company, but I really commend you for that. It takes, I mean, more than balls, you know, either complete ignorance or absolute courage, or a bit of both. But it's awesome.
And now you're in e-commerce.
Yeah, now I'm fully specialized in e-commerce, and it's just how it transitioned. We're doing everything, websites, apps, and social media, to now just focus purely on e-com.
Fantastic. And you did suggest a couple topics that we're going to discuss today that I found interesting, that we'll discuss. But before we get to that, this is Jad's second appearance on the show.
Is it?
It is.
He must be dragging in views for sure.
He is definitely
Apparently.
dragging the views. And the last time around, Jad, we spoke about a couple of things about e-commerce, and I'm interested to know
Please don't quote me.
if anything's changed. Let's
Oh,
see.
A lot has changed.
When was the last?
So it was a year
appearance?
ago, approximately a year
It was
ago.
a bit over a year ago, right?
Yeah.
I
And
think
one
it
of
was the beginning of AI back then, right?
I was just about to say AI is probably one of the
definitely
Like
was.
mainstream AI became a thing right about then.
AI's been a hype since then. Yeah.
That's exactly then.
Yeah,
more or
yeah.
less. I think we've had it. We were still. I remember one of the main topic was cookies. Remember deprecation?
Yeah.
That was becoming a thing back
Yeah.
then, and data ownership and customer journey ownership and how creating your own. It was something, and then AI just sidetracked everything. Because
Right.
I mean, why would you still dwell on cookies if you can hyper personalize everything and get your own personal channel to everybody that ever passes through
Exactly.
any of your interactions on any of the platforms.
But also, one of the things that we spoke about is how much e-commerce is reliant on investment. Do you still think that's a valid point?
Yes, of course. Investment changed, I would say. The amounts are still relevant. It is what it is. There's a lot more e-com player, the biggest one in the region here, that is doing more and more physical presence and taking over spaces, trying to merge that omni-channel experience.
Yeah.
Um,
Omnichannel
Unas,
or
in case it didn't click for now, but
Yeah.
they're our number one luxury player in the region.
phygital is the term, right?
Phygital, yes, is one of the terms. That's correct.
Right.
But I mean, it's more of experiential spaces rather than creating retail spaces.
You mean like pop-ups, events,
Yes,
that kind
exactly.
of thing?
Yeah, there's quite a few spaces that are coming up. I mean, you've probably seen about the Jacquemus pop-up that they did in Kite Beach. They had a like semi-long-term pop-up of Dolce Gabbana in Atlantis the Royal. They're doing some in Mandarin Oriental as well. So they've acquired multiple physical spaces in order to connect with the customers on our level field, and then transact through the website or vice versa.
So investment's still important, and it's not just today performance marketing for growth, right? It's also
But
how
then
can
we
you
have
create-
the expert here who can tell us more about
how
that.
can you create experiences, right, for the end customer? How can you create this better presence around your customer through phygital experiences, pop-up shop, etc.? What do you think? Performance marketing or experience?
It's not a this or that question. I think to start, obviously, you can't be comparing yourself to the likes of Unas or the Shalhoub brands level. These guys are already at a different stage than most people who are just starting out. So if your audience are people who are just thinking about starting their business, the last thing you want to think about is, where can I do my pop-up? Where can I do an event? Because it's going to cost you a kidney.
Yeah.
I think the start is always performance marketing. It's the easiest barrier to entry. All you have to do is get your website up, get your brand, work with a freelance designer, get your product sourced. And then from there, I think the journey begins. And as you start facing new challenges and new problems, that's where you need to think about like, okay, my cost per acquisition on Meta is X. How do I bring this down? Fine, creatives could be a nice way, working with influencers is a nice way, but then you'll face new challenges, and every single level, the answer will probably lean towards what you're saying is offline events, pop-ups, working with live offline marketing, because that's where you get to connect with the customer.
Yeah.
So, but I think as a beginning, for sure, my answer every single time will be performance marketing and online.
Yeah. And when we say
For
performance,
everything,
For
across everything,
100%.
doesn't
because
matter what you're selling, service, brand,
Nothing.
product, nothing.
100%. The
Okay.
reason I think that is because the cost is just so cheap for you to test if the product or the service even works in the first place. So one of a small test that we've done before is there was this new client, fresh, has never sold anything before. He has a product idea in mind. We literally made a landing page where we're saying this is not available yet. It's just pre-order. And we're running ads to the landing page to see if people will buy it in the first place. If people are not hyped or interested to even try, like the pre-launch, we're hyping it, there's only 200 available, and you see no interest whatsoever, why go through the investment of ordering 50,000 products? Why go through the hassle of opening a brick and mortar store if you don't even know if there's interest around it? So I think one of the biggest mistakes people do is they get excited about their idea without proving it first. And we live in an age where you can prove it with less than $1,000. So prove the idea, prove the model first. And if you see there's clear interest, go for it. If you want to do your store, sure. If you want to do something offline, sure. But I mean, there's a very easy way to
So you went from doing the MVP to mimicking an MVP or simulating an MVP 100%. And seeing if it actually works.
And the idea is like most MVPs are minimum viable product, right? Like there's very minimal things you can test. But when you have a landing page where you're asking people to pay you for the product, it's no longer an MVP. You've got the money. You got someone to pay you for it. So you know that they're interested now. It's not like, hey, test this out and tell me what your opinion is. I'm not asking for your opinion.
Refund the person and say, sorry, we're going to push the product.
No, you would have that on your landing page saying, like, if you put the order now, it's going to come to you in 8 months, if that's the projection of, when you're going to actually launch. And obviously, if you decide not to go for it, obviously you're going to have to refund the money. But like, that would be a very, very smooth test. And if it works, you just made money to start with. You can now use the customer's money to order your products. It's such an easy barrier. It's just a very fast way to test if this works. Obviously, if you already have money and you want to take the risk anyways, go for it. But for someone who's just starting out, this would be the best way, my opinion.
Yeah. Well, sounds like a good model for dropshipping, right? And
you're triggering me now.
It does sound like what
dropshipping. It's such a clickbait. The caption of this YouTube video is going to be, is dropshipping dead?
There is some sexiness to it, don't own the product, don't put the cash, but make money out of it.
So I'm not saying, just to clarify, I'm not saying don't own the product. Do the brand, get the fully branded product, make it yours, just like you would have launched anyways. What I'm just saying is don't order the product.
Yeah, you still need to design the product.
100%.
You still need to work
the branding
on the brand
needs to
identity.
be there. 100%. And you need to, you need to order the sample as well. You need to see it yourself. I'm not saying like, let the Chinese supplier just ship it directly to someone living in UAE or the US. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just before you make the investment to not lose it, test it out first and see if it works in the future.
I mean, I get it, but I think dropshipping, he was testing something like another topic altogether, right? Dropshipping is a reality of Islam right now.
And it works.
Yeah, exactly.
It works. But this is an interesting approach. And I wouldn't say it's for brands to completely cancel entire products. It could be used also to learn more about the product, right? Maybe feedback on the product, ways to improve it before ordering the final batch, right?
Alternatively, I mean, if someone doesn't want to absolutely not order products, maybe ordering 100, 200, your cost is probably going to increase significantly because it's not big quantities. But I mean, 100, 200, if you actually want to test it live and send it to people, sure, that works as well. But I mean, the zero way to do it, like the zero sum is not ordering at all.
With the pre-order move.
See if you're actually solving a pain point or not by creating a new product. But this only applies for new products, right? Or new technologies.
Which is why, like, the point is, Unas and Level and all these big players, you can't really compare what they do to what starting brands will do. I think as you get towards their level, then you start playing these big games because it's going to cost too much money. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, it costs the money that you want to put into it, right? But you can do pop-ups for cheap and you can do pop-ups for millions of dollars. The same way you can do performance marketing for cheap and then do performance marketing for $100,000 per month. So sky's the limit in the end. But yeah, I agree. It is a lot more cost-effective way, and it does kind of take you to a faster perception of yield, let's say. Because if you target 100,000 and then you get 1,000 click, and then from the 1,000 click you get 50 or 60 orders, then you have a better idea of the metrics, or of the possibilities and capabilities of the product that you're trying to sell. But what about existing businesses? Because I'm sure that's the bulk of your customer base right now. I don't think there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are trying to come and test. Oh, what about this new lollipop major size that I want to sell that nobody, So what about the existing businesses? How do you cater for them? What would you recommend for them if they gave you a budget? Would you assign 80 to 90% of that on performance marketing or?
Yeah. So my expertise lies in ecom. So I will always take the money and put it to performance marketing because that's what I know best. I'm not the offline crazy experience guy. Maybe if they have a contact for that, I would definitely allocate some money towards it if they can afford it.
So maybe give us a broader understanding, because performance marketing is one part of ecom, right? What are the other things that you do under that umbrella that you say when you're specializing in e-commerce?
Yeah, so there's different touch points. So you have obviously Meta, Google, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all these would fall under paid ads, Snapchat. So that's one aspect that we manage. But then there's also, once they see your ad, where are they going, which is the website, the landing page. So we optimize that as well, because there's a lot of people who would have rock solid ads, but then they go to the website experience is just horrific.
Then you're talking about drop rate, and then you're improving your
100%. UI. Conversion rate will be low. Like, okay, I'm spending $100,000 a month. I'm getting 100,000 clicks, $1 per click. I have 100,000 people on my landing page, but my landing page is converting at a 1%. Like, you just wasted at least 3-4 extra % that you could have added to that. So, I mean, that's another thing.
Wow, okay. That's a metric I'm happy to hear. You're saying 5% conversion?
Absolutely. This is like what we try to aim for is 5% conversion rate on any product that's within sub $200 range.
Okay.
The more expensive the product is,
that's
the more
very interesting, because I mean, like, if you look at industry standards out there, even in the States, which is like the precursor of ecom, right? We're still talking about 1.2 to 2.5, 3%, right? I mean, 5% is not something that people usually promote because it's difficult to deliver.
Yeah, it's difficult to deliver, but it's what's going to help you start getting higher profitability rates. Because the problem is there's different touch points that you can tweak and change your P&L day and night. If you have a 1% conversion rate versus 3, we're talking about a 3x on the conversions. Fixing that,
or a 70% discount on costs, right? Like if you want to look on the other side.
100%. You're literally, your paid ads will cost you less to acquire a customer if your landing page or if your website is converting at a higher rate. So most people don't really think about it this way. They're like, oh, my ads are performing at whatever, $30 cost per acquisition. Okay, but what's your landing page converting at? Oh, it's 0.9%. What do you mean? Get that to 1.5. Get that to 2. You probably won't achieve it, but I mean, that's definitely one of the KPIs you want to push for, is get as high as humanly possible. Ideally, if it's like $150 product, it's not very difficult to get a 5% conversion rate. Because if the product is actually solving a pain point, you're solving a customer need, you're talking about 95% of people not buying. So when you put it into perspective, it's actually not that bad. 5% are buying, 95%.
No, 5% is big. No, it's not that bad. It's not a huge number, I agree with you. But it's still like, we need to, the way we browse online is very different from the way we browse. Because when we browse in the store, we've actually made the painful effort of going. Online, it's like, I clicked by mistake. My son clicked. I opened it. I didn't want to go there. I thought the product was different. So you get a lot of that
for sure
that you won't see in the store.
Yeah.
And because of that, automatically your percentage conversion 100%. Drops
absolutely
dramatically. Even if you're talking, like, to go back to our physical, if you're talking about a street store compared to a mall store, you're going to have a very different type of conversion. A street store is going to have 3 to 4 times the conversion rate that a mall store is going to have.
Because they're going specifically to that store.
Because a person's going to the mall, not the store.
Yeah.
Just like an Amazon page.
Exactly. So the more painful, the more friction there is to get to a place, the higher the conversion. Because I've already made all this effort to come here.
You drove your car, you parked it, you went
to park
out.
It. If it's a street, I had to find the street, I had to pay RTA, I had to go into the store. I mean, you're not coming out without buying anything, where you go to a mall, you might go to the cinemas and then maybe buy something or not. So
and you have thousands of other options.
If you go online, you're on the couch. So,
But you can say the same about a website. If a user came from search versus he came from a a TikTok or a social media page, right?
Yeah, of course.
If he came from search, he
It's
probably
the same intention.
exactly. There's much more intent.
There you go from store, like street store to mall store.
100%.
You know, like
it's a
online.
great example.
Yeah.
You know, so your street store is search because you're actually intending to go to this website. You know, but on social, you're not intending. You're just like somebody fed you a picture that looks nice, and you're like, okay, I'll click on this.
Yeah.
And then you look at the product, and you're like,
Right. But the question is social still playing an important role in pushing the customer to actually buy?
You want to start?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah. So first, let's define what do you mean by social. Do you mean an influencer posting or your friend posting or an ad? Because there's three different things that will lead to three different outcomes.
Right. I mean, it could be any of these. You tell me which one is doing what. But the idea is today people think that there's more conversion that comes from search, and therefore their investment in social media is not a priority as much as search is, right? But would you say no to that, and would you still advise brands to have a presence on social media to help with the conversion, with the purchase?
Yeah.
Is it an attribution game? Maybe it's an attribution game. If you look at last click, honestly, most of it will go to search, right?
Yeah.
But maybe if you look at different attribution models,
First click will probably be,
for example,
socials like Instagram, Meta, anything Meta or TikTok, Snapchat, all these for sure will be first click.
right?
I think when you go into the attribution trap, the conversation will not end. This is what I face with clients. Oh, we need to look at last click. Oh, we need to look at first click. Oh, we need to look at the holistic view. Oh, we need to look at this. Everyone is right because the logic for each one makes complete sense.
And everybody's wrong.
And
Because there's no way to track
Correct.
the entire journey.
yeah, I mean,
There's still no way, unfortunately. Maybe soon,
Be fair.
hopefully.
there are certain
Maybe hopefully, but
there are certain guidances that you can get. Like for example, a lot of Middle Eastern brands do not have this, a post-purchase survey. So
Yeah.
what that means is you make the purchase. There's literally a small questionnaire that says what
where
made
did
you purchase.
Yeah, exactly. Where
Facebook,
did you find us?
Google, emails, SMS, a friend, influencer, none of the above.
But still, even if you do that, they'll only give you the last one. So the last click.
Correct.
They
So
won't
but
give you the entire journey.
the assumption here is, will the person who's selecting the one of the answers, are they going to think last click or first click? Probably not. What they're going to think about is
The
what
one that
was the biggest
resonated the
impact.
most, exactly.
So if they think that they actually purchased because they were browsing for, let's say you're selling a phone cover, right? They browsed phone covers and then they saw your design and that's why they bought. Yeah, maybe Google actually did convert them because that's where they found your
Search.
brand. Yeah, but if they saw an ad on Instagram of a super cool video where they're doing like, I don't know, an unboxing ASMR into the microphone, and that's what triggered them to like say, oh, I want to buy this, probably Meta is the answer. So I think just listening to the person who's answering is probably the best bet. There will for sure be some human error, let's say, where probably the actual impact was Meta, but they selected emails or a friend. Maybe, or maybe someone just answered because they didn't see the X button, so they just randomly clicked on one and then submitted.
It's a build-up, right? It's a build-up to top of mind. Now, top of mind can be about product. It can be about brand. We usually attribute it to brand, but top of mind can be a need as well to be addressed, you know? So the building of the need to be addressed, somebody that crashes their screen on their phone, and then you put a cover that shows you that your screen won't be scratched, automatically makes them want to buy. Maybe not immediately, but the next time they scratch and fix their phone, you know what I mean? So how do you know if he's seen it on Meta or Snapchat or searched and bought? It's impossible.
Yeah, it's tough.
Really,
So, but,
really
but to
impossible.
answer your question specifically, because there are cases like what you guys were explaining before, like maybe they saw it on search, maybe they saw it on social. The answer is to be everywhere. That's
Exactly.
literally the
Agreed.
bottom line.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of brands, especially Middle East, obviously because Ecom is newer, let's say, than it is in the US. The US have been playing this game for a long time, but they're not everywhere. Most brands are in one or two places. Majority is Meta, not Google, I would say. But there's such a big gap in brands using Google to their advantage. They would bid on
Google, using Google so far has always been about SEO, right? So it's
100%, not
always
ads.
been like SEO.
But it's a hard battle. Why would you work for 1-2
Exactly.
years
Why
on
would-
SEO when
yeah.
you can just pay for the click. It's $1, get the purchase. I'm not saying don't do SEO. SEO is for sure something great that you should have, because when, I don't know, you're low on cash, you want to turn off your ads, you'll still rank somewhat good in a good rate. But
And it will help your PPC be more profitable.
100%.
Or more
100%,
efficient. Right?
absolutely.
With the
And
relevancy
every brand
score.
should
Yeah.
work on it. But what I'm saying is, like, bid on the main key terms, because other competitors, if they bid on it, you're now, even if your SEO is ranked one, you're technically third, because there's 2 people bidding on ads for those key terms.
Yeah.
What's the point? Get your SEO to be ranked first. Great. Also bid on the key terms.
The problem is also not getting first, it's staying first, because it's the same cost, right? So you continue having to optimize everything from your metadata to your
100%.
pictures to the naming of your products, your GTIN, everything needs to be top.
The blog post, someone has to continuously write your blog post
continuously. Like, it's not a race that you get to the finish line and then you're done. You
Exactly.
can rest now. No, the finish line always moves as you move with it.
100%. So yeah, the bottom line is it's not which is more important. I think you need to be everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you ask me where the biggest impact is going to be, 100% social every single time. Because if you look at the and mostly depends on the industry, but if you're in an industry that has an insane search volume per month, so like basic stuff like coffee is, everyone drinks coffee. So probably if you look at the search trends, coffee is like at all-time highs. So when people are searching for coffee, you'll probably be able to make a lot of money from Google compared to a meta ad.
Yeah.
So that really depends on the industry, but most cases, if you don't have a crazy high search volume for the product you're selling, social is the answer.
Right. Okay. So be on social, be everywhere. But how would you define then how much budget to allocate on each platform? So you can start
each platform, each post, because as some people told us, like there's organic, which is like content, like consumer to consumer content, right? And then you have like not paid content, but influencer content, right? Which is unorganic.
Yeah.
And then you have your paid, right?
Yeah.
So how do you split between those?
So you also need to look at different placements, right?
Yeah.
Is it would you say that maybe it's a test and learn? There should be a test and learn approach.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure, it's a test and learn thing. You can probably spend whatever, if you're starting your business or you're midway, you're spending, let's say, 50K a month on meta ads, but your ROAS
You're
is
starting and spending 50K a month.
no, midway. Let's say you're midway and you're spending 50K a month.
Okay.
Why not?
Why not?
Maybe it's a big audience.
No, because I mean, like, if you want to talk about deep pockets, definitely, why not? It's a small budget. But if you're talking about your average newcomer, to the field,
newcomer. So newcomer is very different.
or midway, even $50,000 is a
it's a huge amount.
it's an amount.
I'll put it this
like,
way.
It's not.
For starters,
I don't want people to listen to us and think like, oh, these
you
guys
need to spend
deal with
$50K.
$600,000 of paid ad per year.
Fair point.
But you do need a substantial budget for you to get substantial earnings.
Yes and no. So here's what I'll say. Based on the point you brought up, is I'll split it into 3 categories. Starters, for anyone who's just starting, choose one platform. Do not be everywhere. Pick one thing and perfect it. Because if you're gonna, let's say, spend, you only have $2,000, it's stupid to put $1K on Meta, $500 on Google, $500 on Snapchat, because one, it's not a significant enough budget for you to really get learnings, and 2, you're gonna dilute your focus onto 3 different platforms which you do not understand. So you're probably not an expert in all 3 anyways. So I would say focus on one platform, ideally Meta. That's how I started. Once you've perfected Meta and you're able to get $2,000 spend at a 2+ ROAS, anything
When you
above.
say Meta, do you say just
Facebook,
to specify?
Instagram.
Both?
Yeah,
Okay, so
because
not
anyways,
one.
when you launch ads on Meta, it automatically selects both.
No, I know.
platforms.
That's why I'm saying when you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to specify we're specifying both channels. of
Correct.
Meta, not
And it's
one.
best practice
Yeah,
to
yeah.
select both
To
do
channels
both.
as
Agreed.
mixed placement.
100%. So I would say start there. If you're able to generate that, if you spent the 2,000 and able to generate anything above a break even. So let's say your break even, you need the bare minimum get 1.5 ROAS. If you get above that, keep going. Do not focus on anything else until you get that $2,000 budget in that month to 4K the next month, to 8K the next month, and just keep going. You're going to reach a point where you're going
So
to
you're saying
realize,
invest more, keep the same ROAS more or less.
if you can.
Yeah.
Likely as you spend more, your ROAS is going to come down. But as long as it's above your break even and you're somewhat profitable, you should keep going until you reach a point where you realize on your own that the numbers no longer make sense for me to put all my budget into Meta. That's when I would say, okay, let's bring that down a little bit, take it down 10-15%. Let's put it on Google. Now let's start dominating that platform. Once you've realized you're good there, let's move on to the next one. because most founders or people who are running their own businesses, specifically in ecom, they want to be everywhere all at once when starting. Very big mistake, because you don't even have a team. You're going to do this all on your own.
Plus,
Focus on
content
one
is
thing.
different, right? Because
100%.
where somewhere a still picture could lead somewhere, still picture somewhere else will lead you nowhere, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and the nature of like let's talk about Snapchat content versus Instagram stories content versus feed content. They're three completely different things.
Yeah.
So you're telling me you're gonna produce 3 different types of content per month per ad? No way. Not
and
a
pay
chance.
5 times more on content than you're actually going to pay on propagating them, which is not the right way
Exactly.
to
And
do.
if God forbid your ROAS is sub break even, now you're down so bad.
Yeah.
So for starters, this is what I would say: choose one platform, low budget, start there and slowly start scaling it. For anyone midway, they're already crossed that stage. So they already know where they lie in terms of what's my numbers look like on Meta? What does it look like on Google? Based on that, you should be able to allocate different budgets. Most of the brands that we work with at Bad, by the way, is bold and disruptive, just for reference. It's bad marketing.
It's not that bad. Okay.
It's not actually bad. It's,
That is a cool name too,
it's
by
so
the way.
good.
Yeah,
It's so good.
It's
Most
very
people
good.
like
Where'd you work? Bad
bad
marketing.
marketing.
Remind me never to employ that.
No,
guy.
but
It's such a good marketing
Yeah.
stunt. We've heard a lot of like clients who come in.
Yeah.
They were thinking about the process. They're like, guys, the bad marketing name was never out of my head. It's such a good way to capture people.
it creates a buzz because it's controversial.
Exactly. The slogan is "We make good brands go bad." So
Okay.
it's just a play on words. But anyways, I was saying the most of the clients we work with at Bad, we're spending north of 1 million per month just D2C on Meta and Google. That's where the majority of the money goes. The split between them, for most cases, 95%, 80% of that budget is on Meta.
Yeah.
Up until today, iOS 14, all that stuff that people talk about, doesn't matter. 80% of the budget will always go to Meta because we see the highest return there.
Yeah.
Very few cases where brands have ridiculous search volume in the niche that they're in, the budget is closer to 50-50.
What do you think?
Because when you're trying to solve a problem with a product, it's so difficult to find the key terms people are searching for when trying to solve it, and having your ad show up and convincing them through a Google ad link, just like whatever the title is, it's so hard. It's very, very difficult. And then the second thing is the search volume is probably not high in most cases.
No, because compared to other platforms, social platforms, forget Google. I mean, like, why is Meta?
Oh, why
hugging-
not TikTok, for example,
Exactly.
or Snapchat?
Or
Fair point. Look, TikTok is very organic. It's a very organic platform, and I think I'm still not like hardcore into TikTok yet, but every time we launch ads on TikTok, they just don't perform as good as it does on Meta. I think people are used to Meta ads. Genuinely, I'm not 100% certain why there's this huge discrepancy, but organic just crushes on TikTok. So I think that if you're playing the TikTok game,
it's a branding game.
try to get like the Gen Z,
Yeah.
like
It's a brand equity top of mind. People recognize the product, but not necessarily
Yeah.
transact with it.
the
right?
brands that are crushing on TikTok are not, most of them are not really going hard on ads. What they're doing is TikTok Shop, right? So what is TikTok Shop? If you think about it, it's like an affiliate. So it's me,
Yeah.
like as an influencer or a regular person, using this product, and I'm marketing it as if I bought it myself and I love it. So the video will be like someone putting the phone there. Guys, oh my God, I just got these sleep gummies. I slept for like 9 hours. It's not an ad. It's just someone trying to portray the product and how good it is, and they want to share it with their audience.
Yeah.
That type of content is crushing on TikTok. But then on Meta, it could be like a simple graphic of can't sleep, the picture of the gummy, and it'll convert like crazy. So it's just easier to convert on Meta, and I think people are more used to it. On TikTok, if you see an ad, swipe.
Yeah.
The ads are not tailored for that platform.
It's a creator content play on TikTok.
100%. So I think the game there is more organic. Obviously, ads work. There are brands that are crushing with ads, but most people are just not able to crack it because the content they make is not built for that platform. If you want to do TikTok ads, you really need to tailor it to that platform, which is these Gen Z style ads where it's like super raw, super authentic and organic. On Meta, you don't really need to do that. It would be great if you can, but
Yeah.
the game is very different. They're two different platforms and people still haven't cracked this yet.
Is it also because there's an audience difference, right? Because I feel that Facebook is more like there's a generational gap, right, between the 1+ billion users on TikTok and the 2+ billion users on Facebook. I don't think they're the same, right?
Yeah, Facebook for sure.
I
but
think it's
a
3+ billion on Facebook.
It's 3 now. Okay.
Three, yeah, half the
that's
world.
right, yeah.
Look, I think there's a misconception on TikTok where people think they're kids using it.
Yeah.
But there's actually a very, very, very big percentage of people who are, 20s, 30s, 40s.
But I think that some of these 20s don't even have Facebook accounts. That's what I'm saying.
Probably. I mean, there's 3 billion people.
Yeah.
If you were to guess, they probably have a Facebook account. But I think they're more or less the same. Facebook, I think, would be the exception. I feel like grandmas use Facebook. Instagram, I think, on the other hand, is very similar to the TikTok audience.
I'd say it's a bridge. I don't know. I mean, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like people that are in our generation, let's say, as opposed to your generation, for example, would be more likely to have Instagram than have Snapchat or TikTok. You know what I mean?
Potentially. I genuinely, I'm not 100% certain on what you should know. You should tell us. You're the guy who's at Meta.
Yeah. No, I mean, Facebook is definitely the biggest platform
Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
globe. And it's a geographical nuance. So
Snapchat is more prominent in Saudi.
Saudi, for
yeah.
example. And it
And
depends.
US, number one, number two markets.
It really depends on the market.
TikTok is China, for example.
Instagram is huge in Turkey, for example.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the demographics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Age, but do you see like huge discrepancies between Facebook and Instagram? Do you feel like older people use Facebook more than they use Instagram?
More older people, I would say more. Like,
Yeah.
let's say out of 3 billion on Facebook, for example, you probably have 1 billion that are not on TikTok,
Yeah.
for example. And these 1 billion would probably be the older generations rather than the younger ones.
Yeah.
This is my opinion.
I genuinely have no idea.
I would say
It's
potentially, maybe in some markets, Facebook is more skewed towards
an older demographic.
older age groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I find surprising is the performance on Facebook versus other channels. Like, even though it may not be the exact same audience as other platforms, the cost efficiency
Crazy.
is just so good.
Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
The guy has made millions for people. Genuinely. I can't, it still is not like sunk in yet. The amount of money people can make on Meta, whether they're just starting out or whether they're already huge brands, is abnormal. There is no platform that's more efficient than Facebook, period. Not Facebook, Meta as a whole.
Yeah.
Nothing comes close to it on
Right.
paid ads.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So what happens when the brand starts looking at last click attribution?
It becomes horrible. No, I think, look, for what we do with our clients is we make it a mission before they even sign the documents of signing up the contract for 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case is. We make it a mission. Even the sales team at BAD, they really need to understand what they're signing up for. You're not signing up for, you come in, you get a 6 ROAS. You're not going to see a 6 ROAS. I literally get on calls with some of our clients when I'm, overseeing the process. We have 40 plus clients. So every time there's like shakiness in the relationship, they're doubting the process, I get on a call with them. I'm like, hey guys, look, you compare yourself to other brands in the space. No one is seeing a 6 ROAS. Get it out of your head. So it's just setting the expectations right, that if you break even on new customer acquisition, thank God. Thank God. That's most brands when they're scaling, that's what they really need to aim for, is as long as you're breaking even or you're slightly profitable, you're good to go. Because if you do think your product is rock solid.
That's right for newer brands, right?
No. For all brands.
Everybody.
Even brands who are scaling. We have a couple of brands making 50, 60.
Scaling, yes, but
50, 60
maintaining,
mil.
optimizing.
No, I mean, if you're not growing, you don't have a cost anyways associated to acquiring new customers, right? It's not crazy. But when you're ramping up your spend and you're scaling, you're making whatever. Let's say you're
It really depends on what the brand wants, right? If you want to double, triple, quadruple your audience, then the amount of money you're putting in is to grow that.
Correct, but what expectations where it's skewed is they think they can still have a ridiculously high ROAS. It's not going to happen. Very, very few cases where you'll continue seeing like a 3-4 ROAS on new customer acquisition. Tough. For most brands, again, with the AOV range of somewhere around 200 or sub 200, it's very difficult to get these ridiculous ROAS numbers. So I think as long as you're breaking even or you're slightly profitable, it's excellent. The reason is because if you're doing this for the long run and you really believe in your product, then the customer will come back. So what people don't really understand when they're looking at their numbers, and this is what causes 90% of the businesses
Here
to
we
fail.
talk about a very interesting
LTV.
metric. Yeah.
It's unbelievable how the amount of founders do not look at these numbers.
Yeah.
They're like,
LTV,
my
CLV,
ROAS,
you know,
my
all of
ROAS
these
on
long
first
time
time
value that people don't really look
100%. So what we do is when we're acquiring customers, fine. Let's say we acquired the customer at $25 and they paid you $30, right? You've probably lost money on that order because you have shipping, product, packaging. More or less, you probably lost money, right? So the owner will come to us and say like, guys, what the hell? We had 10,000 orders this month and our cost per acquisition is $25 and they only paid us 30. We're down so bad, right? I'm like, yes, you're right. On the first order, you're not profitable. What's your recurring customer rate?
3, 4.
They don't know, right?
Yeah.
I pull up their Shopify, 50%. So you're telling me from the 10,000 orders that we got you, 5,000 of them likely are going to come back and buy again. So you're telling me on the second order, you're going to get an additional $30 with zero cost on Meta ads. So now your ROAS is no longer 1.2. Your ROAS is 60 in, 25 out. You're looking at over a 2 ROAS. So that's your actual ROAS. Your ROAS is on LTV, not on just the first time. It's important to understand your first time customer acquisition cost so that you can project how many customers you can acquire per month. But the general, like when you're looking at the longevity of the business, you need to factor LTV because it changes the game completely. It's like investing, right? If you invest in the stock market today, well, no one's going to promise you a 10%. You're not going to get 10% today, tomorrow. You're going to get 10% over a year, right?
Right.
And then if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. And then
especially when Trump's is at the presidency, right? That's another topic.
But if you look at it over a 10-year horizon, your average will be a 10% per year, right? Or 20-year horizon when you're investing. It's the same thing with Ecom. You need to look at the horizon of how many times will people come back. Most businesses will realize that they have at least a 20-30% recurring customer rate. And when you have that over 4 years, the customers are coming back again and again and again. You only paid for them once. So it's a totally different way to look at Ecom when you factor in LTV.
Right. And it's absolutely okay to attribute LTV to your entry point channels.
100%.
So you can attribute your LTV to where you got this customer from. So for example, it could be Meta, even though Meta may not have played a role in the second purchase or third purchase.
Yeah, because that's where I got you in from, right?
Yeah.
You bought 10 times because I got you in from Meta the first time. Now, obviously, from order number 2 to order number 10, Meta will not play a huge role anymore in terms of getting them to come back.
Depends.
But that's where
Depends on the type of product, depends on a lot of things.
Of course, I mean, you always want to be in their feed, right? That's like a given because brands are competing for your attention, and if you're not there, you're nowhere to be found.
Exactly.
Obviously, it's not going to work. But as long as you exist in their life on their feed, you're good to go. You don't need to do anything crazy. I think where the game is to get them from order 2 to order 10. That's where email comes into play. Like most of the brands, especially in the Middle East, they send ridiculously stupid emails.
Yeah.
Get 25% off. Whatever. Use this code.
Mature markets have shifted from discount. Here we're still in that.
Yeah, and
right? So
the problem is they don't give value. Like for me to come back for order number 2 to 10, I'm no longer thinking about the cost. I want you to affect my life, right?
Yeah.
So like brands like, I don't know, Whoop, for example, they've dominated Middle East.
Yeah.
The subscription fee that they're charging is ridiculous. It's a very expensive product. But because they're able to portray the impact on your life and the positive things it can do for you, people no longer think about these things.
Yeah.
It's like subscribe.
especially giving you the first month for free to try it out in order to
100%.
see if this will impact your life.
And
or
God
not.
knows how much money they lose, right? When you order the Whoop, they're sending the product, the shipping cost, the band, the device. It's a problem for them.
That's how much they believe in their product.
That's where what e-commerce needs to get to. You need to start making products that people actually like, or don't play the game. What are you trying to do? Like a quick buck on a few orders and then dip? If sure, you can do that. That's what dropshipping is pretty much. But if you're in this for the long run, you need to get out of the mindset of what's my ROAS on first-time customers.
Yeah.
Then what's Whoop's ROAS on first-time customer? God knows, they're probably down in the hole so bad.
Yeah.
But when you look at the quantity of people who are coming back, staying for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, paying them 1,000 dirhams per year, Now we're talking, right? And that's what they base their entire decisions on, is LTV, not first time ROAS.
Right.
So I think ecom brands really need to start getting into this momentum of, get out of the first time customer ROAS mindset.
And to get from purchase number 2 to 10, also personalization is important, right?
100%,
Like
absolutely.
when you use your own channels like emailers,
There's so many free channels out
There's-
there.
yeah.
There's so many free
You
channels.
have to be personalized in your comms, yeah.
content, right? You're not paying for acquisition anymore. You're thinking about, how do I elevate my brand? How do I get the message across of how my product can help you? If you look at most brands in the Middle East, what are their posts? Product pictures.
Yeah.
Someone holding the product like this. Okay, sure, go ahead, do 1 or 2 like that. But how does your product help me in my day-to-day life? Portray that, right? They don't do that very well.
Yeah.
Even in the US, they're not really good at this, because they're not thinking long-term. They're thinking, you purchased. I'm good, thank God you purchased. Okay, fine, get me to come back 8 more times. When you play that game, emails, SMS, live events, offline marketing, huge, plays a huge role in getting people to come back. Influencers, very big one. So like now you're looking beyond paid ads. You're looking at everything else you can do to get them to come back from 2 to 10.
Right.
And if you don't do that right, all your efforts on your first time meta
What would you say
work
is the
will go to
biggest,
waste.
most successful not metric, but channel or tool in order to do 2 to 10?
It's not a channel, it's your product.
I would say something else.
I would
There's
say
a
it's the
tool.
brand.
No. App.
To send like notifications.
When you convince someone to download an app, the long-term value is much more probable than.
I see where you're coming from,
know?
because you're probably thinking the likes of Unas and Level, right?
Not only, no. I'm talking when you develop an app, or when you develop an app, a website that's app wrappable, okay, on your phone, you allow a company direct access to you.
Yeah.
Free direct access to you.
You just
all
send the
time.
notification whenever you want. I
Exactly.
completely agree.
And you also
that's number
build
one.
signals. You also
Exactly.
have access to data.
Super hyper personalization.
Yeah.
You have direct,
Yeah.
right? And goes back to the cookie deprecation problem. If you convince somebody to download your app, you're done.
Game
you
over,
solve
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, it's a
And then you
great
can leverage AI, and you can leverage data, and you can put RPAs, and then you get emails. You can get emails sent to this person, and then you can follow them on their drop card, and then you can bring them on products that are similar to what they bought.
Yeah.
The ecosystem in which you put them in, it's like you've actually taken them and put them in the store.
Yeah.
Literally. And they will never leave that store, because they will never leave that phone.
The only nuance I would add to this is a lot of ecom brands, especially the ones we work with, will not be able to pull off an app. The reason is because, I don't know, let's say you sell, I'm thinking of a product, like True Classic. It's a t-shirt I'm wearing, right? They're on their website, but probably the quantity of times people come back is like maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Because you're buying like 10 black shirts, 10 white shirts all at once, right? Unlikely to be able to pull off like ridiculous app gains, or maybe even not even True Class, maybe fashion, they'll be able to pull it off. More basic products like, I don't know, coffee.
Yeah.
No one's going to download Nescafe's app. You're just going to buy it from the supermarket. So
No, but
there
they
are
could
some
download
brands.
Nestle's app.
You download whose app?
They could download Nestle's app.
That's what. Oh, fine. Maybe.
Like not product specific.
But I mean, do you
category
really want to have
specific,
like a Nestle app on your? I don't know if people will be leaning towards that a lot.
I mean, let's think out of the box right now. Okay, imagine Nestle did a subscribe model that's as profitable, if not more, than Amazon, right? Because Amazon is selling Nestle's product on a subscribe model that is cheaper than what you could buy them in supermarkets, right? But who owns the IP? Who owns the brand? Who own? You know what I mean? Like, who can actually leverage that model?
Yeah, fair point.
I think if you're able to launch an app and sustain it and make it still manage to be profitable, because it costs money, right, to have an app. I think it's a great source of data to be able to personalize your
100%
your communication. But I think when it comes to personalization, you need to be personalized everywhere. You need to apply personalization everywhere, and you can do it through an app. An app is great, I agree, but you also have to manage to be personalized on social media, on the website, right? Even on emails or SMS.
One doesn't stop the other, absolutely.
Yeah, and the amount of depth you can take this to is actually crazy, even on emails. Like most of the brands that I buy in Middle East, right, Middle East-based brands, the email goes out to everyone the same way. I'm on my 8th order. Stop sending me 25% off. Like, show me something else. I'm done. You've already convinced me to buy your product 7 times. I don't need another 10% off. It's not going to change my life. The personalization should be through segmentation, right? So you segment people who are sub 3 orders. You need to talk to these people very differently than you talk to the 10th plus order people. They're already convinced. Stop convincing them that your product is good for them. They already know.
And the next few months, I think people are going to go even further. They're going to want that you speak to them individually. You don't put them in the pot anymore. You know, you can't speak to people that have sub 3 orders, plus 3 orders, 8 orders. Doesn't matter. You need to speak to Andy. You need to speak to Brahim. You need to speak to me. This is exactly how it's going to go, right?
Yeah.
It's no longer going to be acceptable. The same way that we, like 10 years ago, it would have been dear guest.
Yeah.
You know? Today, if somebody sends you dear guest, like, in which decade are you still in? You know? Yeah. And tomorrow, it's not going to be dear. It's not going to be anything. It has to be in the tone of voice that you're used to. You know, like if you're a person that says bro to everybody, you would expect to have an email that's bro from a brand. You know what I mean? Like, this is how specialized we're going to become in terms of communication.
Yeah.
We have to wrap this up, unfortunately, because I'm saying unfortunately because I feel like there's more to talk about.
Sure.
I feel like we could have.
Yeah. Let's make a sequel.
we can definitely make a sequel, because I feel like we can talk a lot more about where can brands get data from to be more personalized. And I feel like we touched a little bit on it with the app.
Yeah.
I think we can talk a bit more about what could be other sources as well. But thank you guys for joining the show.
We still have a minute. Here. Words of wisdom to end the session.
Words of wisdom to who?
To anybody doing e-commerce.
Or want to do e-commerce.
I mean, based off of my experience, e-commerce is the number one way to be able to go from 0 to 1. I think if you have no experience or just graduating from university, probably the best thing you can do is launch your own e-commerce business. It will teach you everything from finance, managing your cash flows, inventory, making your own brand, design, customer service, web development. You're going to literally learn how to run a business with very little upfront cost. It's genuinely the easiest barrier to entry compared to any other business model. And probably the best place you can learn this, I don't know if you guys know Jad Fakani, Wolf of Bay. He literally teaches how to start from scratch, from zero, teaches you everything you need to know on how to launch your business. And it's tailored for Middle East. So if your audience is Middle East based, this would be the go-to, in my opinion, of where to learn and then take that and run. Amazing. God knows where you can land afterwards.
No money was
on a
paid
podcast.
By Wolf of Bay.
On a podcast. That's so good.
No money was paid by Wolf of Bay.
No. This is free media.
not sponsored.
Hopefully we can bring it on
bad
the
marketing
show.
hasn't paid for this either.
Cool. Well, good stuff.
Awesome. Good speaking to you guys.
Great to have you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you for having me.